Hey guys, welcome to the YouTube video. Today it's going to be a update video and a few new items I've got and a few new items I've made. So the first thing I'll do is the updates. Those who may remember, I picked this cleaver up at a flea market and it was terribly corroded and missing a handle. And luckily, since one of the original handles was intact, I was able to remanufacture another one. So basically all I did is I took the existing grip and traced it on another piece of wood and remanufactured a new piece. And then I went to work on cleaning up the blade, getting all the dings and dents out of the edge and the back of the cleaver, and now it's perfectly functional again. And this one will be going on eBay. Sadly, I wasn't able to lift a brand off it, which tells me this was probably acid etched at one point. And everyone knows what happens if you use a knife that has an etched emblem. Over time, it comes off. So this one will be put for sale to anybody who wants it. Next is the old hickory knife I bought. Again, I completely restored it, brought it back to the original condition. And judging from all the stuff I was able to find out, this one's from at least the 70s. And it's a shorter one, which is really great for hunting, barbecuing, yada yada. It's got a few deep pit marks, but nothing that's in danger to the blade. I recoated the handles, preserved them, and polished up the pins. Yada, yada, yada. Again, a great piece to go for sale. Next is this one that my good friend Sean gave me. This is a Imperial Providence, Rhode Island fixed blade. Those who remember, this was in really good shape, but it was slightly corroding on the inside. So what I did is I looked up some information on how to take these apart. So I punched the pins out, took them off, and repolished the bolsters, repolished and hand sanded the blade. And it turned out beautiful. Thank you very much, Sean. That's going to look great in my collection. Again, that's one of my favorites. Next is on this little kitchen saw that I picked up. Again, I completely repolished it, fixed the parts, cleaned up the blade, polished it. And this is going on eBay as well. Next is on a couple of screwdrivers that my good friend Outdoors gave me. Those who may remember, in a previous video, I unboxed a package from him, and he gave me a whole bunch of screwdrivers. So, I cleaned up a few so far. First one I cleaned up is the smallest one. And I've used it a time or two. As you can see, it's dirty. But this one's actually a German-made one, which I didn't even know Germany made this type of stuff. And it was in really good shape to start with. Minor rust, which is something I could easily clean off. And I used this one quite a bit to take apart pocket knives. So that's a nice one. And then next is this one, sadly, that had no name. Probably an old homemade screwdriver. Again, I completely hand sanded it, cleaned it up, and turned the handle black and gave it a nice coating to protect it. Again, a nice, beautiful screwdriver to go in my collection. Next is this large flathead. Again, it had the same problem. It was terribly corroded, and the bolster was loose. And I fixed that without a problem. First thing I did was I hand sanded the screwdriver end and the collar, and then I darkened the handle and gave it a nice coating of lacquer. Sadly, no brand, but I suspect it's probably just an old USA. Next is this other one my buddy gave to me. This one was in terrible condition, and I was able to bring it back, and this one actually says Handyman on it. Again, I completely hand sanded it, polished it up, and cleaned up the handle. Again, it's going to get some nice use. And next is on the update on this Benchmade. And those who may remember, I picked this up at a flea market for a super good deal. It was only $6, and I kind of thought it was too good to be true, because the one thing I do know about Benchmade is they are most commonly faked than any other brand out there. I mean, believe it or not, on Wish.com, you can go on there and buy knockoff versions of this knife. And so anyway, I sent some pictures off to a couple of my buddies who know quite a bit about Benchmade, because, like I said, I did not know this brand that well, and they're all telling me it's legit, so I'm going to take their word for it. And I'm happy to find out this is the real deal. And even all the photos, I was looking on Benchmade's website, because I love the fact that they give you very detailed pictures, and I was looking at all the logos, all the serial numbers, and everything that's on this thing. And this is a Benchmade Griptilian that I was able to find out. And the reason why this one's also so hard to identify is this is one of Benchmade's most common custom knives. Like, this knife has hundreds, if not thousands, of different customizations. So Luckily, through all the photos and personal research and a couple of tips from some buddies of mine who collect Benchmades, they're all saying it's the real deal, so I'm going to go ahead and say it's the real deal. So I'm going to keep this in my collection because I've never owned any Benchmade knives, and it has a good mechanism to it, and I've put a new edge on it, and I'm planning on using this knife. So that was awesome find. Alright, that's all the updates. Next is on the two new items I made. First is this large Bowie knife I designed. Been a while since I made a large Bowie knife again, so I figured I would go straight traditional. A classic long blade with a clip point and a very nice multi-piece stag handle. It's 3 different pieces with a piece of brass and a piece of leather and one whole pin holding the whole thing together. And a nice piece of stainless steel for the guard and carbon steel for the blade. And that is just one mean looking knife. Again, this will be put for sale to anybody who wants it. And then last but not least is this one I produced. Those who may remember in one of my older videos, I had a friend of mine buy me a cheap knockoff of a Buck 120. My good friend Edward helped me out with that because once I saw that in their catalog, I was shocked. So my good friend Edward helped me out, and in exchange for some knives from me, he ordered that for me, and I beat the heck out of it in another video. I actually broke it in half. And so what I did is I said in that video is I would take those parts from that handle and make another knife out of it. And I did. I took the guards and the pommel from the original from the handle, and then made the handle piece and the blade from scratch. And man, this thing turned out nice. This one's also on eBay as well if you're interested in buying it. The blade's made out of carbon steel, and the guard and pommel are recycled with one steel pin holding the whole thing together with epoxy, of course, and one nice walnut handle. Again, a beautiful design. I'm very happy how that turned out. Again, just because I break something doesn't mean I can't recycle any parts. Alright, next is a few new ones I just got in. First is this Boker Whittler knife. I got this in and completely restored it. It's a Boker USA. Sadly, though, it's missing the emblem, but it's in great shape, despite what it looked like when I first got it, because it was terribly corroded. I completely cleaned it up, and now it's ready to go. So this one will be on eBay as well, or to anybody who wants to go ahead and buy it. Hopefully, by the time this video is posted, this knife will already be sold. If not, you can always ask me in the comments. I don't mind people asking if something's for sale or not. Next is this one I just got in as well. This is a cut Master Stockman. Again, I just got this in a couple days ago, and I completely restored it and patched a piece of the handle right here because the original piece right here was chipped off. So I filled it in with some homemade wood putty and colored it black so that way you can barely tell. Again, I completely restored it, brought it back to original condition. Sadly, the blade could not be salvaged much because somebody terribly used that thing. But the original main blade is still intact, so is the small one. So like I said, if you're interested, you can happily buy this from me. This is going on eBay. Next is this little guy I restored as well. Let's see if I remember what brand this is. I guess this one didn't have a brand. Sadly, this one does not have a brand. Again, I completely restored this one. I put the original plastic handles back on it. And again, cleaned up the blades, cleaned up the other blades, cleaned up the inside, cleaned up the back spring, yada, yada, yada. Very nice little penknife. Again, this will be put for sale. And last but not least is a piece of Advertisement Knives that I've got in. Again, I cleaned this one up myself. I didn't do much to it because it was already in somewhat good condition. Again, I completely cleaned up the blades, cleaned up the inside, cleaned up the back springs, and that was it because I didn't want to accidentally rub off that logo. And it says State Savings and Loan Organization in Missouri. Also in St. Louis. So if anybody wants to buy this, you can happily hit me up and I'll give you a deal on it. Alrighty, that's all the stuff I've got to show. I hope you've enjoyed the video. And as always, stay sharp.